My intention at the beginning of every session is to get a total party kill.
Hello everybody, my name is TheNerdyGuineaPig. Welcome to my channel. If you haven't noticed, I do a lot of video game content, some like random shorts, some interesting things. And you know what else I really like? I like D&D. So I brought the mod, aka Rusty452,
What up?
and my friend Matt, who is the guru on D&D, over today. They really know what they're talking about when it comes to D&D. So I have brought them here today in order to try a D&D podcast. So, to get things started, I'm going to have Matt describe a little bit about D&D because Matt has been playing D&D a lot longer than I have. So, Matt?
I have been playing D&D for a very long time, and D&D is a really fun tabletop role-playing game, very cooperative. It's you're like working as a team to accomplish your goals, to complete whatever adventure your DM's prepared. One person will be running the game, that's the DM. DMing is extremely fun. It's a really great way to sort of tell a story with your friends. Playing characters can be incredibly fun. Everybody plays their own character. There's a lot of combat. There are a lot of different classes you can play. Each one has a lot of really unique skills, except kind of the ranger. That one's just not that good. But it's there are a bunch of different races you can play. That's probably my favorite thing about D&D is just like the creativity and versatility that comes with the game. Like no game will be similar to one that came before. Everyone is very much its own different thing.
I'm gonna disagree with you there, Matt. I think D&D, it's not about cooperation. It's not about telling a story together. It is the DM versus the players. And it's that much better when the players start going against each other and not cooperating and just trolling one another. That is how you play D&D.
That's how he plays D&D.
There are a lot of ways to play D&D.
My intention at the beginning of every session is to get a TPK, which is a total party kill. But because the good mod giveth, and the good mod he taketh away, I will hand out magic weapons and levels, whatever the players want, I will give to them. Just so that at the beginning of next session, I have that much more to play with to take it away.
Yeah, that's you absolutely do, and it's awesome. You give so many magic items, it is so fun. My character had got like a +4 weapon at level 5. That was great. He was really good at killing people, and he killed a lot of people.
And at level 6, they had to run from a Trask. Things happen.
Just so everyone's aware who's new to D&D, like usually at lower levels, your characters are kind of like tissue paper. Because, like, you level up your characters, you go, and there's different ways that some DMs run it. Some DMs literally give you XP, like you're playing an RPG. And some DMs will say at a certain point in the story that you level up your character. So, to get a weapon that has +4 to attack when you're level 1 is not common. But then you can, like, have people running into and having these encounters with these insanely powerful enemies that normally you wouldn't be able to even have a hope in heck of destroying at such a low level. I think that's where, just so everyone has some background if they're not as familiar with D&D.
So I only tried leveling via experience instead of like the milestone leveling thing. I tried that twice. One was in a 3rd edition game that went for like levels 1 to 40, and at a certain point calculating experience became much too difficult. Just gave up on calculating it. The other time was in 5th edition. And that went pretty well, although it meant that people leveled up at like really weird moments. So I feel like milestone leveling is probably better.
I agree. I like milestone leveling also because then it's not based on whether or not your character did X attacks or happened to be in the room at the right time to be attacking the monster. Because otherwise I feel like you're going to end up with like uneven leveling. It's also must be hard. I haven't DM'd before. I'm sorry. Everyone who's like an experienced D&D player, I know, I'm sorry, I need to DM. I understand that everyone needs to DM.
Yeah, Nerdy's literally the worst.
So what, guys? Give this likes and shares if you want me to DM. If we get 25 likes, I will start a campaign where I DM. How's that? So like, comment, and share if you want to see the Nerdy Guinea Pig DMing a game.
And for those that don't know, milestone leveling is when X happens, you gain a level. Versus experience, whereas you kill this monster, do this side quest or whatever, you get this much experience equals the next level. Classic video game style.
When I did experience leveling, people would like level halfway through a dungeon sometimes, and it'd be pretty weird.
Yeah.
One time, because I gave them like experience if they still like overcame a challenge diplomatically. Like one time they like talked to people a bunch and then leveled from talking to them, which was a little strange. I've played a few different editions of D&D, and I really love the current one. There's a lot of versatility. Previous editions were maybe a little overcomplicated. 5th edition, it offers you a ton of options, but it doesn't overcomplicate things.
I started playing in the 5th edition, so this current edition. So I didn't play when the rules were different in other editions. So the way that the leveling and battle system works now is not the same as it was previously, and now I think it makes a lot of logical sense. So why don't we go through the basics? For everybody who's new to D&D, let's go through the dice.
Oh, those dice are shiny.
Yeah, these
Very
are
shiny.
So here, let me see if I can. These are my dice, guys. These are my personal purple metal dice. Here are the dice. So I will hold the dice up as Matt and Maud take turns going through what each one is. So let us start with the most common die that you're going to be told to use all the time.
Oh, the D20. You roll a D20 for literally anything you want to do. Climb a wall, you want to try and convince someone of something, roll initiative, whatever. You roll a D20. It controls the entire game.
Any attack rolls, skill check, saving throw, anything like that.
You're going to want to get a plastic one, put it in the microwave for like 10 seconds. So that always lands on the 20.
That is a way that people claim you can cheat the dice. Don't do that. Don't do that, guys. That turns the fun. Okay, what's the next?
Pro tip from Mod. DMs take note.
The worst one is the D4, because that one is pointy and can easily be stepped on, and that's a bad time. So that is something to watch for.
So,
there was a rumor on that they were actually designed as like a caltrip or something. So that when like D&D parties would be raided, they could throw them on the floor, and then attackers would like step on them. Like it was an actual rumor. I don't remember where I read it or heard it, but look it up. Google it.
Okay, so let's.
It's a thing.
Everyone calls it D, the number. It's how many. D is stands for die or dice, and 4 is how many sides it has. D20 is 20-sided die. D12 is a 12-sided die. So this is a D. Here, let me just go through them quickly. This is a D4. This is a D12, and here I'll put the highest number. You can see it's got. Well, it's gone. It had 12 sides.
Hey,
this
you hit
is
a cat toy.
I hit a cat toy, guys. What is that? How much does that get me? Double damage?
No.
Dang it. This is a D6. Well, everyone's seen these. It's just a 6-sided die. These are the most common in other games. And then this is a D8. It's an 8-sided die. So pretend I have a D12 still in my hand. So who wants to explain what these are most commonly used for?
Attacking mostly. Your attack die is going to be anywhere from a D4, D6, D8, D10, or D12.
Yeah,
depending on what you're using.
Yeah, usually for damage. D12s, they aren't used a lot compared to, D8s or D10s or whatever. If you buy like a set of dice, oftentimes you'll get 2 D10s, and one will have just the numbers 1 through 10, and the other will have like 0, 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 3, 0, and so on. And the idea is that you roll those 2 D10s together as percentile dice. So there are a few pretty uncommon situations where you would do that.
Those are the dice that you'll see and are used more often in D&D. And then again, if you're like, oh my god, what do I touch? What is it? I can't. It's too complicated. Just remember your D20. 9 times out of 10, you're being asked to roll a D20. So, as part of the ice breaking, so now that we've described a little bit of D&D, we've gone through some of the basics, we thought it might be helpful to give everybody an idea of what it's like in-game by describing, 1, our favorite character, 2, our favorite character death, and 3, our favorite encounter in a game. So, let's start with Maud, or Rusty.
Yeah. You want my favorite character?
Your favorite character.
Oh, there's 2 top contenders. But one was technically an NPC I made when I was DMing, so I won't use him. The actual favorite character that I played in a campaign was a Goliath barbarian called Broniak. Broniak the Smirt, SMRT. And his whole backstory is that he voluntarily left his clan because he was just too smart and had too many great ideas that the rest of his family and clan just didn't understand him. So he wanted to go pursue it himself. And really, his solution to everything he encountered was, oh, guess I'll hit it with me axe. And he would just go and literally, he would just smash anything that was a problem with his axe. And it just always seemed to work. He found, oh, is there a shop that won't give him a discount on what he wants? Well, he's gonna hit them with his axe and take it. Is his enemy? He's gonna hit them with his axe and take it. He came across, one of the other players was trapped in a room from a ghost that was holding a door shut. So they telepathically reached out for help. So what did he do? He came and he smashed the door to pieces with his axe.
I believe that was your house as well.
Yeah, he was also living there.
Oh, that's right.
I mean, that later became a thing that all of my future characters, in any game I played, they all seem to develop this affinity for being terrified of doors. But that's a whole other story that we'll get into. That was his thing, like, he was so stupid, but he thought everything he did was smart, and he ended up, like, weird chance things happening, became the leader of the Zentarum. Because
I believe you became the leader of the Zentarum by murdering the previous leader.
Yeah, exactly. He murdered the previous leader. Like, he was just doing it. He was just muscle for hire for the Zentarum. But he thought that he was, like, really doing good things. He thought this was right. All because he was trying to impress this, like, orc girl that he had a crush on.
Yagra.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
man.
then he, through murder, became leader of the Zentarum.
And then, of course, he got Yagra pregnant.
That's
Yes.
right.
Yes, and they had a child called Brogra that became an NPC in other campaigns. That, again, is a story for a different day. But I love Brogra because they inherited both their parents' strength. So they're half Goliath, a quarter orc, quarter human. And they wear these pink fuzzy bunny slippers everywhere, but also carried this, like, ridiculous crit axe. Like, does quadruple damage when you roll a 20. Oh, it's just amazing. All they wear is, like, leather armor and fuzzy bunny slippers.
Okay. That was I was in that campaign. It was a great character.
I DM'd that campaign. I loved Broniak.
Yeah.
All right. So, what was your favorite death then?
I don't think any of my characters have ever actually died.
Really?
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
None of my characters... Oh, no, that's not true. Broniak did die at one point. He
Tell
came
that
back.
Story. That's a great story.
Yeah, that was
Broniak,
great.
During his Muscle for Hire campaign, had once killed a rival gang member and as a reward, got to keep the pistol that this gang member was carrying. And then, through more murder, acquired, like, a bead of fireballs. Like, so he had all these beads of fireball. And then his house/bar was attacked by a zombie beholder. So he was too far to hit it with his axe. So as this thing is wreaking all kinds of havoc, he says, "Don't worry, guys. I know exactly what to do." So he pulls out his pistol, loads in one of the beads of fireball, packs in the gunpowder, pulls the trigger, and then blows the entire establishment apart. So in this great ball of fire, the gun sets off the fireball bead, which detonates in his hand, which sets off the gunpowder on his belt, which sets off the remaining beads of fireball around his neck, which sets off the gun, which sets off everything. So there's a cataclysmic explosion that blows out the entire back wall, kills Broniak, several other characters, and does not kill the zombie beholder.
It had a lot of hit points.
It dealt like 500 damage or something. Just as like, Inferno, and then like the town guards come flying in on their griffins. It's clearly been
They had some questions.
some sort of terrible mishap.
It wasn't a full TPK because some party members were out of the blast range, which
Yeah, I think
was
one
good.
one party member managed to like roll a deck save to jump down into the basement before this fireball
Oh my
took
God.
out the entire bar.
That was the warlock. Yeah, he rolled well.
He's like,
It's a
oh
good
my
time to roll
god!
well. The wizard got killed and the monk got killed. This was Waterdeep Dragon Heist, by the way.
Which is another topic we're gonna
Yeah.
cover.
Yes.
So what was your favorite encounter then?
My favorite encounter is when Broniak murdered the boss of the Zentarum. Broniak kind of eventually came to realize he'd been set up by Manchun, I think was the leader's name.
Yes.
And by this time, Broniak was fairly high level, and he was pissed. And this guy's been in this cataclysmic fight with, like, the Xanathar and this other cult leader. And he's like, oh, Broniak, help me. And Broniak, oh, I'll help you. I'm gonna help you in the only way I know how. By hitting him with his axe.
Of course! And then Broniak solved everything.
Broniak got a promotion.
By this time, Broniak has like 3 attacks he can take in a turn. He's got this like heavy, high-powered axe. So he's just like slicing away at this fucking guy. And just like cleaves him in twain and keeps hacking.
Alright, so that is an interesting story.
I think Broniak then, like, poor Broniak is descent into madness at this point. Like, he's looting the body after he pulls out like his ring that's like, I think, cursed with a beholder. And he puts it on and he just has a new friend that's giving him great ideas on how to manage his new business.
Broniak the Smirk, guys.
I love Broniak. He is probably the best. The best character I've ever created.
Broniak was pretty great.
Some sort of Brazilian coffee cookie. That Nerdy made, by the way.
Yes, I made cookies. Guys, I also do food streams on Twitch. Mostly, I've been doing that lately. I'm doing food streams on Twitch. If you want to watch me baking cookies, making jams, randomly doing challenge runs, I'm going to do a stream where I have 5 ingredients and I have to make an entire 3-course meal with 5 ingredients, the same 5 ingredients with some rules. But anyways, also, don't forget to subscribe, like, comment. Go to my Twitch, twitch.tv/TheNerdyGuineaPig. And back to D&D. Matt, what is your favorite character?
I have an answer to that. Specifically with the favorite encounter, I was gonna go with the Broniak encounter, so now I've got to think of a new one.
Sorry.
My favorite character was a little-known wizard, and her name was Jasmine. Sometimes when you make a character, your original idea for the character is very different from what the character ultimately ends up being.
Mm-hmm.
My initial idea for Jasmine was that she summoned monsters a lot. That was like her thing. She was a wizard with a lot of summoning spells. Somewhere along like the first session, she started summoning demons. Cause that was a really good spell. There were 2 really good spells for that. There was summon lesser demons, which summoned a lot of little demons. There was summon greater demons, which summoned one big one, and that was her favorite. The monster that she really liked summoning with that was a Barlgura. And she would always summon the same Barlgura, which is a large gorilla demon named Curious, and she named it Curious George. And Curious George was not treated very well. Jasmine was not a good parent to him. I believe she referred to him as, what was it, Mommy's little stinker?
Mama's little stinker.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she would always go on about how he was like such a good boy, and then she'd like oh where's that mysterious portal go? I don't know. I'll summon Curious George. Send him to that. The fun thing with Curious George though, you would think like, oh well, this is just like, this is very unfair to Curious George. Like, well, first of all, he was a demon, so it's like literally like an incarnation of evil. So there's that. But also, Jasmine made it sporting with Curious George. At the end of every turn, he would roll a charisma save. And if he succeeded on his charisma save, he was then free and, would rampage around for a few turns before vanishing back to the abyss. Usually in those situations, he would attack Jasmine. Ironically, there was actually a way that when you cast the spell, you can make a little, like, circle of, like, magical blood around yourself, which prevents the demon from attacking you, like, and as long as you're in that circle. Jasmine never did that because it was like way funnier to just have Curious George absolutely, beat the living hell out of her every time he broke free, which was often. He broke free a lot. Eventually, Jasmine, like, grew as a person. She stopped summoning Curious George. I remember the session where she was, like, going through that character development. Everyone was, like, ignoring it because they thought she was bullshitting. But she wasn't. She genuinely, learned to love Curious George and stopped sending him to get his butt kicked by horrible monsters. Now, that said, she still summoned other demons. Just she stopped summoning Curious George, so baby steps.
I played that campaign. Jasmine was awesome. So what was your favorite death then?
Oh, that's a good one. My favorite character death happened when I was playing a campaign called Curse of Strahd, and a buddy of mine was playing a bard. So Strahd von Zarovich, villain of Curse of Strahd, and he's like knobby, powerful aristocrat vampire guy. And one thing that he will try to do is, like, if there are any corruptible characters in the party, he'll try to corrupt them and turn them to his side. And he corrupted the shit out of this bard. This bard was very corruptible. Eventually, I had to move for work, move to another city. So I wasn't going to be able to regularly play in the campaign anymore. Midway through that session, my buddy takes me aside and says, "I've got a way for your character to end. I want to Snape and Dumbledore you." So, I take the cleric up to the highest tower in Castle Ravenloft. The bard turns to the cleric and is like, "You know why we're up here?" I'm like, "Yeah, I do." And he's like, "Take your armor off." I'm like, "Okay." It's like, "Okay, now take off all your magic items. Now, like, empty your gold out too." And like, "Okay, yep, it's all there, just on the ground." He's like, "Okay, turn and look out at, the gloomy Ravenloft skies." Then I shove the cleric off the walls of Castle Ravenloft. And then, my character is falling to his death and is, betrayed, thought that things were going to go in a very different direction than they went. And as he's falling, the DM is like, so you have like one turn before you hit the ground and die. Is there anything you'd like to do? And I'm like, well, my character still has his holy symbol. He can still cast spells. What does he see? And my character actually had a really good perception check. So the DM was like, well, okay, there is something you see. In a window, there's this beautiful, large, glowing red orb. I'm like, oh, that looks really important. I am going to attack it. I am going to cast Guiding Bolt at max level because I'm not going to need spell slots very soon. And I'm going to attack this thing. I roll a natural 20.
Oh!
I deal just enough damage to destroy this thing. And then my character hits the ground and dies. As for the bard, at that point, it was revealed to him that the item that my character had destroyed was called the Heart of Strahd, and was this massive, powerful artifact that was sort of helping to keep Strahd immortal, and it had just been destroyed. The bard, his character had wanted to work with Strahd, and that wasn't going to happen now. And Strahd started summoning like shadows and living paintings to attack him. And then I left because then the session was over.
Whoops.
That is my favorite character death. It was so funny.
Can we get this video to 5 likes to make Nerdy DM Curse of Strahd?
25 likes. 25 likes.
But I have a really good character I want to play for it.
25 likes, guys. So Matt, and your favorite encounter?
I one time ran a 3rd edition campaign. And the idea was we wanted to do like a campaign that was like as long and immersive as possible. The final encounter for that was something called a Prismatic Dragon, the most powerful monster published in 3rd edition. One of the spells that it liked to cast was Wish, which it tended to wish itself back to full health. It had about 3,000 hit points.
Oh my gosh, that's
and
insane.
Its challenge rating was 67. And over the course of an incredibly intense, like 5 or 6 hour long fight, they beat it.
Okay, and then for me, what my favorite character is. So my favorite character was a bard, a water genasi bard called Mayim, who was the most useless. So the idea was to make her completely so pacifist as to almost be a troll character in battle. But what she ended up being was super useful because she had super high, like, charisma and intelligence. So she was able to, like, convince people of things during the campaign. And also because she genuinely thought, like, everyone had good and was trying to do good. So she'd, like, talk down conversations and encounters that would have gone could have been very bloody. Because she'd be like, no, let's all get along. Which, I mean, was also, Matt was DMing that campaign, and Matt let her do that. So thank you, Matt. Because, I mean, she could have also been that useless troll character had Matt not willing to do that. That was definitely my favorite character. She became friends with the head of the Xanathar. No. Yeah, it was the Xanathar. Yeah, the Xanathar. And she helped him meditate and ended up killing his goldfish. But that's a story for another day. So my favorite death was from a different campaign. I was playing another campaign, a curmudgeonly, very young wizard who rolled her eyes at everything and thought everyone was, and didn't like anyone, didn't like anything, was always out for herself and couldn't care less, until she met a beautiful vampire named Mycrella. And at first she was trying to woo Mycrella because she was trying to get to use her, but she actually fell in love with Mycrella. But due to circumstances, the party got in a fight with Mycrella, and Mycrella died. And my character was not a fan of that. So my character in future campaigns, and if I ever run one, you may see an Easter egg. She's again not going to give two poo-poos and use any and all dark magic available in the realm to bring back Mycrella. And consequences be danged.
That was also the same game with Jasmine.
That's right. That was the same one with Jasmine.
So, fun fact about Mycrella is she was just very recently turned to being a vampire, so she still maintained a lot of her humanity. But she was part of an overall, like, vampiric family. And everyone went out of their way to try and protect her and shelter her because she was just so, like, sweet and innocent, even for a vampire. And the rest of them all felt bad for her. So she was sort of like the gem of the family. It just happened to be the first one that Aaron ran into.
Yeah. So that was a great character.
Yeah. But it was her sisters that triggered the fight because they want to eat Aaron.
Whoopsies! And then my favorite encounter would have had to be with Mayim in a final battle, because Mayim again was a pacifist. Mayim went out of her way not to harm anyone. She had all these spells because she's a bard, and she would do, but everything she did was to try and prevent the fight, end the fight, stop the fight. So there was one time she looked around and she saw that all of her friends were being killed, and she decided to fight. And she had some spells in her background. She had some powerful attacks. And so she killed the Xanathar's goldfish. And the Xanathar, but the goldfish.
The Xanathar loved his goldfish.
The Xanathar loved his goldfish. And Mayim especially died in that moment because not only hurt the Xanathar, but killed a fish too. So that whole battle was my favorite because it had the most character development for Mayim.
I in particular liked the way you killed the goldfish. Because you could have just like punched it. It had one hit point, but you didn't do that.
Yeah.
No, I froze the water the goldfish lived in.
You lifted the water.
Oh, I lifted the water, that's right.
Then froze it and dropped it to the ground.
That's right. Oh man, I should add, if you guys want, I had like a whole animated thing in my head about how that was working, like with the music from the Zuko, if you know Avatar The Last Airbender, the Zuko Azula fight at the end with that powerful music, and like Mayim stepping out from behind a rock where she'd been hiding and lifting this water up in front of the Xanathar and dropping it to hurt the Xanathar, which is so unlike her, like completely out of character for her, but he had like pushed her past her breaking point because he was like trying to kill everyone around her.
He had disintegrated most of the party.
Yeah, he had to, so Mayim had essentially Avatar stated.
He technically didn't disintegrate. Nobody died yet, but people were about to die.
Yeah, death was on the horizon. So anyways, if you ever want to see that animated, let me know. I think that's a great introduction and giving us all a heads up of like what D&D is, who we are, what we play. We have lots of cool ideas, that we want to go through?
5 likes and Nerdy will DM Curse of Strahd.
25 likes. 25. Share it around. Let me know if you want to see more of this. If you have any ideas for topics, please let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to follow on Twitch. If you want to see more of this live, we could also do games on Twitch. So it's twitch.tv/TheNerdyGuineaPig.
Drop your favorite character and campaign ideas in the comments.
Yeah, okay, let me know what your favorite characters are in the comments below. So thanks, everybody. Bye.
Oh!
Sorry, did I kick you?
I think
Sorry.
yes.
Oh!
Are you okay, Mod?
Right in the bleeping shin.